ever felt drawn to pick up a certain stone on a beach, or wondered why certain crystals seem to call you while others don't? What if seemingly inanimate objects could lock in emotions and interact with our well-being? Welcome back to Exploring Ways to Wellness. Today I'm thrilled to share my conversation with Jo Gillibrand from the Tree of Life Holistics. Jo's curiosity about the unseen world has led her to a 26-year journey into crystal therapy and holistic healing. What I love about Jo is how she combines the scientific with the spiritual. We'll explore vibrational frequencies and how crystals interact with our chaotic human energy. Jo also talks about leading women's circles and drum circles, where even the most reserved participants can't help but roar and sing. Grab yourself a cuppa because this is a masterclass in crystals. Jo shares practical guidance on choosing and caring for them, and why certain stones ground us while others lift us up. She also gives an insight into the reality of running her crystal shop, where consultations are never just about selling stones, and important truths about fake crystals and ethical sourcing. She holds nothing back. Whether you're crystal curious or have a collection of your own, Jo's wisdom and authenticity shines through. That's quite enough from me. Let's dive in. I am absolutely thrilled to have Jo Gillibrand with me today from the Tree of Life Holistics. And you'll see this if you go to her website. There are so many different options of what Jo could be talking to us about today. But I have chosen crystals because I'm particularly interested in crystals. But I'm sure we'll be able to weave in some other exciting things that Jo gets involved in. So thank you so much for joining us today, Jo.
Hello there, Sarah. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
It's lovely to see you there in your beautiful crystal shop with some of your crystals around you. So what a beautiful environment that is.
Yeah, it's a beautiful backdrop to introduce what crystals actually can bring to a person's life. I'm lucky to have two very beautiful places of work, one being my tree sanctuary, which is a gorgeous log cabin at the bottom of my garden, surrounded by trees and natural abundance. But I thought today we will have the backdrop of the glorious crystals.
I'm so thrilled that I have had a chance to be in your sanctuary and have a crystal therapy and sound therapy and just, the most incredible experiences. So in terms of crystals, obviously you're skilled in so many different holistic therapies, but how did crystals even become part of that?
Well, it started a long time ago now. I think around 1998, I started exploring the incarnation of our humanness. Raised a Catholic, so very dogmatic in my approaches to faith and faith structures. But I was lucky enough to have parents who nurtured curiosity. So I started, as many little people do, with collecting crystals and shells. I grew up on the beach, so there was always glorious shells and pebbles to collect, driving my parents mad with having these bit stones around my bedroom.
I'm sure they were a lot more beautiful. I've got two sons, and it got to a point where I was sort of, no more stones in the house. So if you came to our house, there'd be like a little pile of stones and a pile of sticks either side of the front door.
And I think, isn't that magical though? We have twins, and I encourage that kind of behavior, picking up sticks and beauty from our natural world just brought into our everyday. And I think that's where I was going with the kind of Catholicism. There were rituals that I enjoyed, you know, the burning of the incense, the chanting, I spoke Latin when I was little, when I was about 10. We sang in Latin, and, the singing and the vibration of song and faith. And it brought me to a quite philosophical point in my early teens where I was fascinated by all things of the unseen. So growing up just outside Brighton with lots of witchy, magical shops and curiosity shops. And, it was always a bit alternative. So I was lucky enough to have a childhood and a young life, my teenage years, with the arena to explore these things. And of course, holistics wasn't really a thing then. Nobody had heard of holistic therapy. So I went down the route of looking at past lives, looking at psychology of being us. And then eventually, neurolinguistic programming came in, and I started looking at that, NLP, and how our brain creates the environment we want to live in. And then there were more books about manifesting, how we manifest our lives and how we can create our kind of template for how we want to go forward. And then I looked at why and how do we do this. So there were only bits and bobs really out there at that point in time. So yeah, around that time of my early years, I was fascinated with Arthur C. Clarke, a magazine came out called The Unexplained, and, looking at that, looking at why, and something caught my eye in one of the Arthur C. Clarke's about ghosts appearing in old abbeys, Chichester. It was the site of the Saxon Wars. And, the yew trees that grow there are called the ancient watchers, pieces of our earth, lock into their memory all of the trouble that has happened, all of the strife, all of the wars, all of the deep feeling, all of the lovers that have felt great emotion have been locked somehow into the stone, into the trees, into all of that. So I started thinking, well, why? How is that possible that these seemingly inanimate objects can do such great things? They can project images from great emotions. So I began becoming interested in crystals and learning about their vibrational quotient and how through some form of biofeedback, they can interact with our outside world, our very being. And so the journey began deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. So I read a lot of books. Judy Hall is one of my most favorite writers in the field of crystal therapy. Her books are the go-to for anyone who is interested in learning right from the beginning, origins of crystals, how they interact with our bodies, what chakras and energy systems they kind of interact with. Yeah, so it's layer upon layer of how we find ourselves looking at crystals to having these deep healing essences.
Yeah. So I find that really interesting because obviously crystals are beautiful. And I had the pleasure of coming to the shop yesterday to choose a couple myself for something that I was wanting to do. When you find yourself drawn to the beauty of a certain crystal anyway, but it's these extra layers that I find absolutely fascinating. You were so wonderful at talking through the different crystals and how they would relate to different things in your life or different issues that you're looking at and that kind of thing. Could you just explain a little bit about how they are more than just pretty pieces of rock?
Yeah. So us as a human body, if we look at everything, science tells us that we are more space than solid. It's only our perception of what is solid form that makes us solid form. And we're all these pulsing, vibrating energy systems. All of our organs vibrate at different quotants, different frequencies. Color vibrates at different frequencies. Is the chair a chair? Are we seeing the chair as a chair kind of thing? It's the color and the type of crystal that holds the different frequencies. And when interacting with us, we are a massive destabilised energy. We are affected by emotions, our neurosynaptic responses, affect our central nervous system, affects our blood pressure, affects our organs. So we're all over the place. We're chaos in human form. Crystals aren't. Crystals are static. They stay at the frequency that the original source programmed them to be. So some are high vibrational. So you've got pectites like moldavite, which are space rock, which is hugely popular at the moment because it's so unusual and it's so it comes with its own little backdrop of phenomena. So they vibrate at high frequency. Quartz crystal does, selenite. They're all high vibrational crystals. And then you've got the denser, darker crystals. So you've got the obsidians and you've got the tiger's eye that are all about our grounding. So if we want to feel up, we pull the energy up. I don't know whether your viewers will understand the concepts of chakras. We are a system of energy. We are governed by a channel of light that connects us to our original divinity through a stream of energy that comes through the central part of our energetic systems called the Sushumna. So the Sushumna channels the light down. It's supposed to enter in where the baby's fontanelle hasn't yet. So it comes down in the ancient Ayurvedic and Chinese principles of energy. We have this connection to divine source that anchors down beneath our feet into the ground and anchors us into this earth plane, this incarnation, if you will. And in amongst all of those things, we have the chakras. We have the wheels of light that sustain all that we are. So we have the crown chakra, which aligns with amethyst, clear quartz, and it's all about our thought process, our clear mind, our connection to the oneness of all. So it taps into the space between you and I, the space between me and the tree at the bottom of my garden. It connects in. It's good for meditation, good for lucid dreaming, for life exploration, or just to calm the mind of anyone that's suffering with anxiety. We then pull the energy down to in between our eyebrows, and we're talking about the third eye. We're talking about colors of deep blue, the color of the midnight sky. So we're looking at lapis lazuli, we're looking at blue apatite, and the darker, like sodalite. And that's about our clear vision, our clear perception, our seeing the path ahead and knowing what we want. It's about tapping into intuitive thought. So having that feeling about something and acting on it. And we're pulling the energy down again to the throat chakra. And this is the color of the tropical ocean. This is your turquoises, your azure colors. So we're looking at Amazonite, we're looking at turquoise, we're looking at paler colors of all of the crystals that are out there. This is about communication. This is about our ability to speak our truths without fear of persecution and fear of being judged more than anything, and choosing those words so that we can interact from a compassionate point of view. Pulling their energy down again through that Sushumna into the heart center. So we've got the higher aspect of the heart, which governs our what most would see as our irrational mind, our irrational thought process of love for love's sake, like a Shakespearean novel. And there we'd be looking at the rose quartzes, the rhodochrosite, those pink hues. And then we move into the main body of the heart chakra. And there we'll find all the green crystals, green aventurine, different forms of jasper that contain the green hues of it. Malachite, quesicola is a really good one for the heart chakra. Moving into the solar plexus, the next chakra down, and we're looking at all the sunny sort of yellows and citrines and golden healers and all of those. that are about our self-belief and our self-worth, to be able to say, I'm worthy, I'm enough, you know. So we look at those for that. Then we come into the sacral, which is the womb center, where we hold all our feminine power. This is the cauldron, if you will, where we mix our wonders, our creations into existence. And in this space, we can clear lineal wounding, whether that be sisterhood wounding, motherhood wounding, the witch wound, all of those woundings of feminine lineage. And when we're working through that, we're looking at crystals like carnelian, the more orangey colors, you know, orange calcite. They are brilliant for that. And they're also great for those ladies out there that are struggling with perimenopause or gynecological problems, conception problems, all of the things in that middle quadrant. And then finally come down to the root chakra. And as I previously said, this is all about feeling safe, feeling protected, feeling like we're home. And we're looking at the crystals like obsidian, tourmaline, shungite, all of the darker crystals that anchor us here in this earth plane, that help us feel secure and safe. All of those chakras align with different organs in that quadrant. So if we think about the heart chakra, we're thinking about the heart, the lungs, all of the things in that space, whether it be soft tissue, organs, bones, all of those aspects, and the same for each and every one of those parts of the body. So by placing those crystals upon the different aspects of the physical form, we are aligning something that is in a state of dis-ease, out of alignment, out of balance with the crystal's static, stabilized frequency.
It sounds like it's that stabilizing factor. So how does it work in terms of bringing that equality between the sort of the frequency that's out of alignment in that particular part of the body and the crystal that has a stable frequency?
If we look at the way that that sound works as well, with the brain and training into sound, you know, when you hear a beat and it goes, you can't help but move to the beat.
Yeah,
I run drum circles, and even the most staid, reserved person can't help themselves after a while. You know, they're banging the drum, and then all of a sudden they're moving with the drum, they're singing with the drum. And the same thing with crystals, only the body doesn't realize it. So it's the entrainment of the unheard, unseen frequency of the crystal that is on the body. So within crystal therapy, place the crystals in the spaces of the chakras or in spaces of the meridians, the ley lines that run through the body, and we place them on. I may use my hands as well. I'm a Reiki master, so I might use Reiki alongside the crystals. I may use tuning forks for that extra kind of resonance, that harmonic resonance between the static form, the out of alignment body, the sound frequency that matches as near as I can get it to the crystal. And then I hold the person. And simply by holding a person and holding a space and holding a physical part of their body, the body relaxes down. You know, when a child falls over and we place our hands on the child and say, rub it better, kiss it better. You know, the actual touch, my body to their body, my hand to their whatever ailment they've got, is a connection. So brain, without realizing it, sends its signals to say there's something that doesn't belong to the body on the body. And then it automatically goes to that point. So what I find with a lot of my clients is they're almost disembodied. They're not actually in their body. And people use the term woo-woo with a lot of things that we do. And I find that highly offensive, because one thing that I strive to do with my client group is to actually make sure that they are fully incarnate in their body, that we are, we are an embodied soul, that we are fully aware, because otherwise that's where ailments start to happen. We are not fully aware of our body. We're running a million miles an hour in our own heads. We're having all of these thoughts. We're having so much stimulus from the outside world. We've lost tracking what it is that we feel and what it is, how we see the world. And we only have to look around us to see the disconnect, to see the division, to see all of those things that separate us rather than bring us together and pull us into the center of our own being, so that we can live out our existence in connection with everything else without it affecting who we are in this moment.
Yeah, that's so true. We do spend all our time just in our heads, don't we, at the moment, bombarded by so many messages, so many things that we feel like we need to be doing. It interrupts our sleep when you've got so much going on in your head. And actually that connection with our body is so important, both to acknowledge how you should be feeling, to be able to be aware when there's a problem. I know that was an issue that I came up against in the past, where I was ignoring signals in my body that were signifying there was a bigger issue. And when you look back, it's like, oh yes, there was that, and there was that, and there was that, and there was that. But it was that, no, I just have to keep on. I have to keep on with what I'm doing. I just have to get through to the next day. I just have to keep on top of everything. Yeah. And that sort of mind-body connection is so important, that we acknowledge that we're aware of that, and we live in our bodies, as you say, rather than just in our head.
Yeah. And we feel like we fail, especially as women. I know that you've probably got male viewers out there as well, but I work predominantly with females. And, especially females around my age now, who are choosing to step into their power. And I always find it a deeper experience for women if they can authentically share where they feel that life isn't working out the way they'd hoped, or they are seeing, the things, the problems that we haven't spoken about before. I mean, Davina, what an amazing woman she is, that brought all the menopause to the forefront and said, we need to talk about this, ladies. Come on, And when we sit in circle here, when we run our red tents gatherings, our drum circles, our Friday night meditations, all of those things, or even in here, in the simple interactions, buying crystals here is not about just buying crystals. It's a deep dive. I ask people to make appointments so that they can spend an hour with me and tell me what it is they want to achieve. And then I can kind of tailor that to their needs. They can come and they can look, and they may not buy anything, and that's fine also. But then the conversation opens up to perhaps they need to offload. They need to say something. Yeah. They need to share those feelings of inadequacy, or that they're not enough, or, and have someone hear it, have someone bear witness to it. And I think as holistic practitioners, and I know with a lot of your tapping work, you probably feel the same, it's sometimes offering a space for people to come forward, to step into their power, and for the first time ever, embody their emotions rather than receive them. Because when we're receiving these signals from other people, we're bolting them onto our own energetic profiles, and we're almost giving away our power. And I feel crystals enable us to take back that power, even if it's a matter of holding a palm crystal, setting an intention, setting yourself a mantra that attaches to this crystal that says, I am enough. I am standing deep within my power. This crystal that I'm rubbing is a reminder of that. It's a part of your energy that you are inviting in. You are invoking. We do a lot of very powerful invocations in group circles where women can have up to as many 30, 40 women in a circle who are saying, I am standing in my power. We, sometimes we roar and sometimes we sing the songs of our ancestors, step into that more tribal energy. And there are always crystals on my altars wherever I practice. We have altars through our house. My children have crystals in their room. Their friends, if their friends come over, I'm giving them crystals. I check with their parents, but I give them crystals. And, wherever necessary, it's about bringing the beauty of the natural world into our life and stepping away from bogginess of it all and realizing that we are humans. We are souls in human form that are striving to make deep connection. And I guess I use my crystals to make that connection with other human beings, with other like-minded beings that are on this path.
It's such a beautiful practice that's got so many layers. So, you could just be simply choosing a crystal that you like the look of and using that as an anchor, as you say, during the day, having your intention. And then whenever you see that crystal, it just being that little reminder to you versus being used as therapy that can go so much deeper and can not only help you on a sort of psychological, emotional level, but potentially also on a physical level as well. I just find it fascinating.
Yeah, it depends on how far you'd like to go with it, I suppose. One of the most beautiful research pieces I ever saw was, and you may well have heard of him, Dr. Masaru Emoto. And he wrote a piece called Crystals in Water. And he was able to look in depth at what water did with certain frequencies being fired at them. So he played heavy metal to one set of musical water samples, and he played classical music to another. He spoke words, him and the scientist spoke words of hate and malice to one group of waters, and they spoke love to another. And they saw that some of the frequencies that were lower vibrational frequencies, they would react differently. They would become jagged and not very beautiful, and it would change the molecular structure of water. The ones that had been spoken to with love and compassion and gentleness, they formed these most beautiful. They looked like, as children, we cut out the snowflakes at Christmas time. They looked like them. They looked like these beautiful mandalas. They'd formed into the prettiest of patterns. And you could see that water responds in the same way as we respond to emotion. And we're like, it was 70% water. And we talk horrible words into ourselves, and we accept that other people are horrible to us. And we carry on whilst the crystals within us are forming these jagged patterns that we take on board ourselves. And I think part of working with crystals and working in that affirmative kind of fashion, that mantra, that positive reinforcement, is to tell ourselves that we accept ourselves and that we accept ourselves as we are, not how we're told that we should be. So, I think that's another thing. The positive affirmation aspect. We call it the Sankalpa, what it is that we are pulling towards us, how we envisage our life to be. And I think crystals, working with Sankalpa, working with the chakra healing, working with the sound, working with all of those things that give us this recalibration of our energetic patterns, is what will bring us home to ourselves.
Yeah. I know certainly with EFT, a point that can often be missed when you see many tapping videos and things is that important piece of accepting who you are now in that moment, rather than jumping straight to the affirmation or straight to the this is how I want to be. And it feels like it exactly part of that. You need that sort of, well, hang on, stop, relax, bring yourself back to center and breathe. Exactly. And realize, well, what is it that's going on with me at the moment, and dropping down from your head to your heart, and appreciating, whether it's a physical or an emotional area, what is it that doesn't feel right, that is out of balance, and whether that's speaking it out or just acknowledging it within yourself, to then know where you are now in order to know where you want to get to. Because otherwise your whole body will just sort of reject that. If it doesn't believe it, it's going to reject that affirmation. You can shout it as many times as you like, but it will take a much longer time in order for that affirmation to become believable to your mind and your body, than if you say, okay, but this is where I am now. This is where I want to get to, but I need to take the steps in order to get to that point. And to have something like a crystal, or to have sound, or any of your other holistic therapies, is just such a beautiful way to get from one end to the other, rather than beating yourself up that, okay, this is where I am now, and that's terrible, and I shouldn't be here, and this is absolutely awful, and what am I projecting to the world? How is this affecting my relationships? You can get yourself into this mad downward spiral and say, oh, that's not achievable. But actually, by having something like crystals or sound or other therapies, it takes you on that journey, that gentle, beautiful journey to that place where you can achieve that goal, that affirmation.
It opens us up as well. I think a lot of us bolt on our trauma as if it was a kind of suit of armor. We understand that. We understand our trauma. We understand our pain. We understand all of the darkness. We understand it. We understand what it is. We haven't dived into the shadow elements of it, but we see it and we acknowledge it. And it's like, no, this is going to become my armor that will divide me from the outside world, that will divide me from understanding myself. And I think once a little sort of little crack in that armor opens up to a possibility of light getting in, we're able then to step further into our power. So with a lot of people, I talk about, in my classes, I talk about the unfolding of who we are, almost laying it bare. And as painful as that is for people, they can then see what it is that they've got to work with. And once they understand, okay, this is the map forward, we can start integrating crystals, meditation, breath work, somatic movement, sound, drumming, and so on, and layers outwards. So they then have a pathway out of this cage that they built for themselves. So I think crystals are the gateway into a more deeper reflection, maybe, of self, of who we are.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, because we can define ourselves, can't we, by the dark side, or the things that are sort of happening to us, rather than we can take back control. It can be a way of us taking back control and saying, okay, but this is something that happened to me, or this is something that is happening to me, but that doesn't have to define who I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
And anything that can give us back that feeling of control and that feeling of strength, even if we're borrowing that strength from something else.
Yeah, it breaks the cycle, I think. It breaks the cycle, and it gives us an opening to talk about the whole energy system, because the crystals are beautiful. There's no getting away from that. But they all symbolize an aspect of us in human form. They all symbolize a part of us that might be hurting, or something that we strive for, and whatever that is, it opens up the conversation to go deeper into that. People say, I want a crystal for love. Okay. what would you like? What would you like to achieve from love? What is it? Well, I'd like to find new love. Okay. What are you looking? And the more you dig, the more it comes around to, do you need to love yourself? You know, do you need to sit within self-compassion? Buddhists talk about the metta practice. You know, are you carrying out your metta practice? Are you feeling love? Are you feeling peace? Are you feeling ease? You know, give that gift to yourself.
Yeah.
And
We don't look inwards enough, do
no.
we? Everything is external.
Yeah. So the crystals are a conversation starter. We can then work energetically with them. And that's when the treatments come in. And then, you know, and then for a lot of people, it comes out collection of crystals that they can call on, but they're then asking themselves the questions that go with that give them validation, that give, you know, that become an awareness of their unfolding, an awareness of where that cage has been opened, and they can live their true, authentic lives.
Fantastic. Does anything spring to mind, an experience that you've had or someone you know has had, where having that crystal has made that difference that they were looking for?
I mean, it's a sad story, the one I have, unfortunately. Tektites really fascinate me, you know, moldavite in particular. And I have this beautiful pendant that's now locked away, not to be worn for a very long time. I don't sell moldavite to people because it changes the trajectory of your world. And I ran a retreat a little while ago, and it was my first retreat that I'd ever ran. It was about 3 years ago, 3 years ago. And I'd had a lot of destabilization in my life at that time. And I was pretending that it wasn't happening. I was kind of burying my head. And I was wearing this on this one Sunday. I was closing down after the retreat, was putting all the equipment away. A friend of mine said, should you really be wearing that at this moment in time? I was wearing this moldavite pendant. And later that day, an old friend that had expressed they weren't too happy with me had decided that she was going to go a separate way. Then my holiday that was meant to be going on the next day cancelled. And there was lots of things that just went wrong on this day. But it all opened up for other things. I got an upgrade on my holiday.
Oh, fantastic.
I ended up back in a place I used to work in many years ago. And I worked for a short time in the New Forest with NLP and various other working with young people who had a lot of emotional problems. And I ended up staying in the village that I'd done my NLP training. And it brought back a whole host of memories, and they'd upgraded me. But obviously, this moldavite had been sent to separate me from things that weren't meant to be on my journey. The friend that I lost was never meant to be on my journey moving forward. And as heartbreaking as that seemed at the time, you know, if we look at the shadow self of that, an ego of wanting to hold on to something so tightly, not taking on board my part to play in the destruction of that friendship, you know, that opened up for us both to move away and grow separately. And the holiday being cancelled, I got an upgrade. So crystals can sometimes come into your life to level the land, to be able to move forward into new life, into new possibilities. I've used crystals when I've been poorly myself in recent years, in meditation, practicing the crystal placements on myself, and I've felt a lot more calm, a lot more centered. And that's what we need to bring about for ourselves, that calmness, that centered feeling of connection with our body, connection back to who we are, identifying the pains that we have, so we're able to work with them deeper within them, not just on a superficial level, really. And I think all of that, all that I've said might have seemed a little bit, well, that's a bit peculiar, but we need to come at it from a curious mind, from a mind of a student in every aspect of who we are and lives as they are, and that involves analyzing the relationships that don't work as well as the relationships that do, the moments that we're unwell as well as the moments that we are well, and look at it all as a learning journey of all that we are.
It's all part of that human experience, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And as much as we can sort of say, oh, you need to just focus on gratitude or focus on what's going on that's bad, that we need to heal ourselves from. As you say, it's everything. It's all weaved together.
Absolutely. I'm not big on the whole love and light aspect of spirituality in the modern day. I feel that there is a lot of toxic positivity that is wrapped around the work that we do.
Yes.
And sometimes, we have to get deep in the thick of all of the darkness so that we can inject the light into it. But we have to get to the core of what that is first, rather than just being passive with our throwaway comments. Everything I aim to say, I say it with the deepest part of my being. I sometimes pause, if people get very unnerved by the pause, but it's really important that we do have those moments where we choose our words and we choose our path. We choose the way we wish to heal. We choose the life that we want, and we're active in that, because no one is going to help us with that. We have to help ourselves, really.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this for another half an hour, but I think that's a really, really important point to make, that it feels like the sort of wellness industry from a holistic perspective and from a complementary perspective is going through a bit of a change in awareness, but also a sudden influx in the number of practitioners that are coming in that maybe have done a quick online course or something. And what I find concerning is the fact that we are human beings that are complex creatures, and the potential for someone to bring up something traumatic or something that they don't understand. It is important that you really look into who you are working with, and that they do have, whether it's that trauma training or they do have that experience that means they can hold you in a safe space and they can help you work through anything, because it may be things you're not conscious of at the moment. But as part of the work, things can come up, and it is really important that we're careful, as you say, even with the words that you're saying. I mean,
absolutely,
it is so important, and I guess that in a way links to sound therapy and the frequency that you're using. The words that we use have sort of been created for a reason. There is a reason why people respond in a certain way to the words that you're saying. And the frequency that you're using to do those. So, so much to delve into.
So much. I think we need another session.
We do, definitely. And something we've not really touched on, but we were hoping to get to, was the community aspect of gatherings. Because I know that's a very important area of your work. So if I could be so cheeky, maybe we could have you back in the new year to talk about that. There's obviously so much to go over with crystals, but if people want to contact you, Jo, what's the best way for them to do that? Is it on social media? I know you've got your shop as well.
So the best place to keep in touch with me is on Facebook under Tree of Life Holistics Rugby. We've got an Instagram page also. We have the website. Now that only holds my events and my treatments on. Or you can reach out on my phone as well. The phone number's on Facebook and on the website. And it's simply a matter of carving out an hour for you to come and spend with me in the shop. If you know what you want, then sure, fly in and pick something up. But if you want to spend time with the crystals and working your way around how they interact with you, it's free consultation when I'm done. I can talk for England about crystals and about, what worked for you.
So I just wanted to touch on as well, if you're looking to buy some crystals for yourself, what sort of things should you look out for? I mean, I was at a festival at the weekend, the Mind, Body and Spirit Festival. Every second stall seemed to have a massive amount of crystals there. If you Google crystals, you'll have a huge amount of websites that are selling, but obviously from the ethical side and the moral side, sort of not all crystals are equal, I guess.
No. Yeah, it is something that's concerning me. The marketplace seems to be flooded at the moment with crystals, with the likes of Tempting You and other organizations that are selling crystals out there for legal use. I don't know about those other places, but what I can say is that what I do, until recently, I had two crystal intermediaries. So they stand between me and the countries of origin that I purchased the crystals from. One of my intermediaries has now retired, which leaves me with one who is an amazing guy. He's based in the UK and he has family mines out in India, Pakistan, Madagascar, and I want to say Tanzania. And he sends me footage of his family mines, of the local communities. I meet with him regularly. It's probably every 3 months that we actually have a physical meetup. So we have discussions. We share the same ethical mindsets. I myself am vegan. We strive, my husband is a holistic gardener. We strive to live our lives as in connection with the planet as possible. So my crystal purchases have always been in alignment with that. I remember watching Blood Diamond years ago and it breaking my heart. So I know that this industry is riddled with a lot of darkness also. So all I can say is make sure that where you are purchasing your crystals from comes with an ethical background. Otherwise, you are buying into a trade that is shocking and horrendous and illegal. Or you are buying things that are substandard or not even crystal at all.
Wow.
Fakes out there are rife. I've had members of various courses that I've run say that they purchased this on X, Y, and Z online, this and that, not naming any names. And they've handed it to me and it has been, I don't know, silicone or some form of mass that has been made to look like a crystal.
Yeah.
So I have a strict kind of don't ask me if you haven't bought your crystals from me, don't ask me what they are because you may not like the answer. And crystals also, if you purchase, so I don't know whether you can see the room that I'm in has extreme light in it. It's painted white, the shelves are white. The light is streaming in through the windows. Crystals love to be in the light. We say charge in the light of a full moon, charge in the sunshine. They love the light. But if you find amethyst is like the one that shows up the most, if you find amethysts that have been kept in darkness and, they haven't been looked after very well, they look lackluster, they look dull, they sometimes look grey. And you don't want to be buying crystals that don't shine and sparkle and let the light through. And if you turn them towards the sunlight, you'll see shells inside of them that have like little tiny rainbows in them. And they look as if they are emitting energy in their sheer beauty. Those are the crystals you want. You don't want things that are, unless it's shungite. I have a piece of shungite here. shungite is never going to be a pretty crystal. It's meant to be near anything that is emitting electromagnetic frequencies. So it's supposed to negate, hence why it's in my computer. Obsidian, again, has a beauty of its own, but it's dark, but it should still have the sheen on it. Yeah, I just think we have to be careful. We have to be ethical. We have to make sure that what we are receiving is what we have paid money for. And I don't think you can always do that with an online purchase. I think it has to be, you need to see what you're buying, really, or have a connection with the person that you're buying it from.
We've got a couple of crystal shops. I guess we're lucky in Rugby.
Yeah.
But if you aren't able to get to a crystal shop for whatever reason, then, any ethical seller should be able to answer your questions if you send them a message to say, where are you sourcing your crystals from? And, how can you guarantee the quality of them? So some really top tips there. Thank you.
Absolutely.
If you have a chance to go to the shop, I highly recommend that as an experience. And obviously, as I said, I have enjoyed some of your wonderful treatments as well. So I would encourage people to have a little look at what's on Jo's website and possibly book in something nice for yourself. I know Christmas is coming up, so that's a great opportunity as well. But I'll put all the links in the show notes, so have a look there and follow.
We do gift vouchers also, and around Christmas time, we do gift boxes with different conditions, different emotions, and so on. So there's lots going on around Christmas within the crystals and what we can offer here.
Fantastic. And have you got an online shop, or can people ring you if you're not in the Rugby area?
Yes, we can do delivery. So, I'll endeavour to get a lot of the crystals uploaded that have recently come in. I'm prepared to post out. And also Dave has said that he will do a delivery service in the local area if there's a call for it. So if you're unable to make your way to us here, we can always drop it off too.
Fantastic. So thank you so much, Jo. I know we've covered a huge amount today. I'm hoping we'll see you again in the near future, because there are many other things that you do that I would absolutely love to share with our listeners. So thank you for being so generous with your time and your skills today.
Thank you so much.
Wow, that was extraordinary. Jo's depth of wisdom she shared from 26 years of working with crystals is exactly why I wanted this conversation with her. A few things really stayed with me. First, the concept that crystals are not just pretty objects or anchoring us to that moment that we want to remember, or that feeling that we need to feel. They're witnesses to history and holders of energy. And when Jo explained the vibrational frequencies, it grounded the mystical in something more scientifically tangible. I found it interesting how Jo described us as chaos in human form. Our emotions, our nervous system responses, our blood pressure can be all over the place, while crystals remain static in their set frequency. That image of a stabilizing force when we're feeling destabilized really resonates. The chakra work she explained was so clear, from the crown where divine light enters to the root where we feel safe and grounded, and connecting specific crystals to specific needs, whether that rose quartz for the heart, carnelian for perimenopause, or obsidian for feeling anchored. That practical application makes it accessible. But what really moved me was Jo's women's empowerment work, creating sacred spaces for women to step into their power, to share where life isn't working, to be witnessed and heard through gatherings, drum circles and meditations. I really look forward to discussing this with her in more depth in a later episode of this podcast. As I've experienced, buying crystals in her shop isn't just a transaction. She asks people to book an hour-long appointment so she can understand what they want to achieve and tailor recommendations. That's not retail, that's healing work. The practical guidance at the end was also so important. The reality of fake crystals online, silicon masses that just look like stones, the quality indicators of shine, sparkle, how light passes through those tiny rainbow inclusions, and the ethical concerns about sourcing, because as Jo said, this industry can be riddled with darkness. So when you buy crystals, you're buying into a supply chain, and exploring whether it's ethical makes a difference. If you're in Rugby or nearby, I highly recommend visiting Jo at the Tree of Life Holistics. Experience her crystal shop or book a treatment at the Tree Sanctuary, or even explore the women's circles and red tent gatherings. If you can't get there, look for ethical sellers who can answer your questions about sourcing and quality. Jo's website has all the information about her offerings, including gift vouchers and Christmas gift boxes tailored to different conditions and emotions, and I've put all the links in the show notes. Thank you so much to Jo for sharing her wisdom so generously. Her combination of scientific understanding, spiritual depth, and practical guidance is exactly what makes these conversations so valuable. Until next time, take care of yourselves. And remember, there are many paths to wellness, and sometimes they're found in the stones beneath our feet and the crystals in our hands.